Embler Books presents Hope for the Good Time Girls, written by Fiona Ford and read by Annie Aldington. Chapter 1. June 1942. The thrum of the music underneath the maple-sprung dance floor sent a shiver down Renee Hammond's spine. She'd always loved listening to the first few bars of the orchestra as they tuned up, but now that she owned the Hammersmith Palais de Dance, she made it a priority to hear each and every band warm up. Not only did she believe that it sent a clear message that she was interested in their performance, but she also believed that as owner and manager, it got her excited about every dance. Not that Renee needed an excuse to be excited. It had been 6 months since the death of her husband, Ronnie, who had taken over the Palais. The two had never seen eye to eye, and so it hadn't come as a huge surprise to learn that Ronnie hadn't left the Palais to her. What had come as a surprise was that Ronnie had an older brother named Roger he had never mentioned, and that it was Roger who had inherited the Palais. However, with Roger being a vicar, he felt he wasn't best placed to run a dance hall, but he knew a woman who was. And so he had handed the Palais over to Renee, just like that. Since then, Renee had taken to the Palais like a lost lover returning home. The moment she'd set foot in the Palais over 3 years ago, she'd felt as if she'd found her place in the world. Now that she owned the venue, she couldn't imagine ever being anywhere else. The Palais had always been her happy place, and the dance floor had always soothed her soul. As she closed her eyes and leaned against one of the ornate Chinese pillars that dominated the dance hall, Renee gave herself permission to lose herself in the music. "Hey up, Dolly Daydreamer! You're wanted!" A sharp female Mancunian voice caused Renee to swiftly open her eyes. Blinking, she brought herself back into the moment and grinned as she caught sight of the new Palais Master of Ceremonies, Janice Dobson, walking towards her. "And what the hell do you want disturbing my peace?" Renee gave the MC a mock glare before her face broke out into a wide grin. Renee had always been fond of Janice, from the moment they first met at the Manchester Dance Hall 18 months ago, when Renee had briefly moved away from London. In her 50s, with a wit as sharp as a blade and a down-to-earth streak so grounded you could practically see the soil on her back, Janice had been the perfect MC, and an even better friend. When Renee had taken over the Palais, and the former MC Bill Kane had chosen to retire, Renee had known without question who she wanted by her side, and Janice, with family away at war, had immediately agreed to help her old friend out, becoming an instant hit with staff and regulars alike. At the question, Janice rolled her eyes and reached into her pocket for a player's light. Lighting up, she inhaled sharply and then addressed Renee. "Them Yanks are causing trouble on the doors." "Again?" Renee asked. "Afraid so." "What's the problem this time?" Janice stifled a grin. "To be fair, it's not really their fault. It's the local lads that are upset." "We haven't got that many local lads to be upset," Renee said brusquely. "They're all away at war." "Well, the ones that are left are upset the ladies outside are more interested in the Yanks than them." As Renee met Janice's eye, she let out a whoop of laughter. Ever since the American soldiers had arrived in Britain in January, they had caused a staunch divide amongst the locals. The women loved their exotic accents and handsome faces, not to mention the seemingly never-ending supplies of stockings, chocolates and cigarettes the Americans could obtain. Naturally, the local lads had been upset to be usurped by such a good-looking bunch, and hadn't been afraid to let their feelings on the matter be known. In the past few months, they had complained directly to Renee, pleading with her to ban the Americans, and when all else failed, had begun queuing up even earlier to discourage the GIs from entering the Palais, suggesting they sling their hook and go elsewhere. "What are they doing now?" Renee asked, with a shake of her head. "Old Jimmy Bell's son Arthur has threatened to flatten one of the Yanks for talking to his sister." "Oh, for crying out loud!" Renee let out an exasperate
Sample complete. Ready to continue?